Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have a fun coaching call for you with Tammy Lowe. So she got on Zoom with me for about 30 minutes so that I could answer some questions for her. We had a really, really fun conversation. We're going to talk about showing versus telling, whether prologues are a good thing or not, and kind of the truth behind them, because there's a lot of myths in what you probably hear about them. We're also going to talk about whether your book should have a subtitle, how many words go into a novella versus a regular book. I mean, a bunch of things. We jump around to several different topics, but it's a really valuable conversation, and I think you're going to get a lot of value out of it. Before we jump into that, though, I wanted to remind you that today is the start of the Plot to Publish Fiction Author Summit. So it goes today and tomorrow, and there are about 20 presentations, really fantastic, value-packed trainings from different industry experts that they're going to tell you about putting in emotional flow. They're going to tell you about unputdownable openings, a lot about story structure and characters, subplots, romance. I mean, you name it. We have so many great presentations. So it is free to register for. There is an optional VIP option if that's something that you're interested in, but you can register and watch today and tomorrow for free. So it's very quick, today and tomorrow. If you want to get on that, make sure and register. I will put the link below in the caption or the show notes, and just make sure and do that because it's going to be over with by, midnight Wednesday onto Thursday. So if that is something that you really haven't heard about before now, make sure and register for that. If you are listening to this after September 3rd of 2025, then you kind of missed the boat on it, unfortunately. So if you're listening to this sooner than that, then go ahead and register. So with no further ado, let's jump into the coaching call with Tammy. Hi there. Do you have a great idea for a fiction story? A story you're dying to bring to the world, but you don't know where you're going with it, don't know how to fill out a compelling plot, and have a hard time sitting down to even write words, much less finish your story? Even when you do write, do you worry that it's boring, that it drags, and that readers are going to hate it? So you stay stuck, write and rewrite the same scenes, and eventually give up, ending up with a file of half-written manuscripts and glorious story ideas on your computer. Hi, my name is Liesl, USA Today best-selling author and writer of 4 genres, and I've been writing fiction for more than 15 years. I teach fiction authors to write highly emotional stories based on elements of psychology and spirituality, with an emphasis on your unique subconscious creativity. Did you know that human beings cannot be emotionally healthy without stories? That we'd all literally go mad if we couldn't tell ourselves stories and derive meaning from them? It's true, and a scientifically proven fact. So, grab your chocolate of choice and your fuzzy slippers. Let's turn that story snippet knocking around in your brain into a full-length novel that will give your reader that emotionally cathartic experience they long for, make you money, and change the world. Who's with me? All right, everyone, welcome back to the podcast. We are here with Tammy Morris Lowe. How are you doing today, Tammy?
Great, thank you.
Good. So tell me what it is that you're struggling with in your writing.
I think it's probably a few things, but the main thing is show versus tell. Okay. I find myself telling too much and not showing enough. Okay. So can you give me maybe just an example off the top of your head? Well, maybe like world building, building the world where the setting, and telling too much but not showing where the characters are at. Okay.
So when it comes to showing rather than telling, there's a few different what would you call them? I guess pillars that I tend to go through. So the first one would be action, and what I mean by that is that rather than you, the narrator, the person who's writing the narrative of the story, telling about something, show the characters interacting with it. So rather than saying there's this big, statue on Main Street or something, show the character walking by it, show them looking up at it. And then you can do a sentence or 2 or 3 about what it is and how long it's been there and, that sort of thing. And if you break it up that way, then it becomes much more shown than told. So what I would recommend is take what you know. You can be very, very logical and very intentional about this. Take what you know your reader needs to know, whether it's about the world or something else, and then break it up and figure out how to get your characters interacting with those things so that you can show them as you go. Of course, there's going to be some times that you need the audience to know things before the character interacting with them. And if that's the case, you can always bring it up in conversation in some way between characters, have them write in a journal, have them look out their window and see it, just some way to introduce it that is also part of what's going on with the character. Does that make sense?
It does.
Great. So beyond that, when it comes to descriptions and showing versus telling, I always talk about thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. So really and truly, I get really deep into the weeds of the psychology of it. When you're doing the 5 sensory experience, that actually is creating emotion in your audience. And most people don't realize that. If we talk about, the famous exercise where you imagine biting into a lemon and then your mouth, you'll salivate, right? That is actually an emotional memory coming to you. And the reason for that, most of us don't think that biting into a lemon is an emotional thing, but there's emotions on a lot of levels. And on a very basic level, emotions are tied to our memories. So it doesn't have to be some over the top, super sad, super happy, super angry emotion. It's just how we were feeling when we bit into that lemon. So then when we imagine it again, the feeling of it comes back, and that is an emotion on a very basic level. So the point of explaining that is that if you use the 5 sensory experience to describe whatever you're describing, you are actually creating an emotional and an immersive experience for your reader. So instead of saying, John walked in the door and his wife was cooking dinner and it smelled good, give us what those smells are. Tell us, that it smelled of garlic and lemon and that there was humidity in the kitchen because the stuff is cooking on the stove. You know what I mean? What's he seeing? What's he smelling? What's he tasting?
The 5 senses and what are they smelling, touching, right. Seeing, touch. I got it, I think.
Right. So that actually segues well into the next one, which is their reaction to it, their thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. How are they reacting to it? Does it smell good to him? Or does he hate that smell because he doesn't like what his wife is cooking, right? Does it bring back a memory? Does it make him salivate, right? He might think, "Oh, I'm starving. That smells really good. I can't wait to eat." That's his thought. Maybe he'll have a feeling about it. But there's also the physical sensations, right? Is he salivating? Is his stomach growling? All of that. So the best way to show rather than tell is to make sure, number one, that the character is interacting with it, to use the 5 senses as much as you can, and then give the character's reaction, which can come in the form of thoughts, feelings, and physical body sensations. If you do that, then your telling days will be over. You'll be showing all the way. Now, naturally, you don't want to overdo it. You don't have to get every single one of the 5 senses or every single physical sensation for every single thing that you want to describe. But if you can get 1 or 2 of them in, which can often be done in a single sentence, then you're doing just fine. So, for example, if we just stick with the guy coming home and smelling dinner, he walks in, he smells garlic and onions heating on the stove. He says, "Oh, that smells really good. I'm starving," and his stomach growls. Then maybe his wife yells at him to go wash his hands. No dinner till he washes up, and he kind of grumbles about that and is upset, but he goes to wash his... You see what I mean? How you're just getting the full experience that he's having by tapping into these things.
I do. Makes a lot of sense. Yes.
Good. So do you have any other questions around that? Anything you want me to clarify? Any details?
I haven't. No, not about that, but I do have an unrelated question that maybe you can help me with. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on prologues and epilogues? Because let me tell you what I've heard. That most people, number one, not editors, but publishing houses kind of have a lock against it, something, that they don't like, a taboo against it. and that a lot of readers will not even read the prologue, not the epilogue. Epilogues are okay, but the prologue.
So, yeah, this tends to be a very volatile subject, and or maybe not even volatile, just people have opinions about it. But I'm not sure that I believe any of that. I hear a lot of the same things in the industry. So I've heard that too. And I really couldn't say anything that is factual. I have no idea if the traditional publishers have a lock against them. I'm not traditionally published. I'm indie published. So I don't know about that. But in my experience, it may have to do with the genre you're writing. That could be part of it. But I write a lot of high fantasy, and I read a lot of high fantasy. And I'm telling you, most high fantasy has prologues. I mean, most of it I've seen, a lot of it. And I have never once had a reader complain about a prologue. I've never actually seen that. Now, it doesn't mean they haven't. Of course not. I've not seen everything that every reader has posted. But in general, I feel like this is something of a myth. Like, maybe in the past people were against them. Maybe people got sick of them because you had authors who were writing them and not writing them very well. And so that kind of gave them a bad rap a little bit. But I mean, maybe, we could go into what would be a good prologue versus a badly written prologue. I don't know. But I just feel like I hear those kinds of things all the time, but I have never once seen any proof of them in the industry. I wrote a prologue for my fantasy book, didn't have one person complain about it. In fact, people really liked it. They said it was very moving. You know what I mean? So I think as long as it is well written, as long as it's just not, like I said, part of the problem might be that people were writing them just to write them, just to feel cool. And I wrote a prologue and it really sucked, But if it's really well written and if it's really well incorporated into the story, I don't see it as a problem. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Let me tell you about the book that I'm writing now. Is a Halloween book.
Oh, nice.
And the first part of it happens 100 years ago. And then we get to present time. And the ghost has lived in the attic. The man that becomes a ghost has been living in the attic for 100 years. And so I just thought that leads to need a prologue. The prologue can be 100 years ago and start with chapter 1, present day, unless maybe we weave it into flashbacks, the backstory.
Yeah. So I was gonna mention that earlier too. I feel like, and I would really need to do a deep dive study-wise on this, but I feel like the prologue, it often, obviously, from the word pro, it's happening before. But if it's just pure flashback and nothing else, maybe it would be more appropriate to do that as flashbacks. I feel like a prologue is also, it's like part flashback, part backstory, part tease, also part something very significant that it's basically a foreshadow that you're going to find out what that meant later in the story. So it's not just pure history. It's like, it's something that's intriguing that they don't have the answer to, and they have to read the story to figure out what that was all about, right? So I guess it just depends on, which of those criteria your prologue meets. If it is pure flashback, again, I'm not super picky about it. I wouldn't tell someone not to do a prologue just because it's pure flashback, but it could be that certain publishing companies, that's where they're thinking is that could be incorporated other ways. But if it meets those criteria and it's not just flashback, but there's also some intrigue and some, I almost want to say prophecy or foreshadow that you're setting up but not giving the reader the answer to, I think that would make a fabulous prologue.
Okay, I'll have to think about that because I have an idea now that you said that, something intriguing that you don't get an answer to yet that's going to make you want to read the rest of the book.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there is a necklace that the woman that dies in 100 years ago that the artist that becomes a ghost is in love with, and she dies, but she has a necklace, and you don't know, I guess, the meaning of that necklace, so that can be a tease to where it happened to this necklace, where is it at, and what was its significance.
Right.
Or is that something that would be enough of a, not just part of the prologue, but enough of a tease to get readers to continue reading?
Yeah, as long as what I would say is just make sure that you're very intentional about the way you're setting up the intrigue. So maybe something happens that's unexplained even to the characters, and you can hint that the necklace has something to do with that. Even if you had one of the characters say at some point, "What is this necklace? I don't understand what the point of this is, or the origin, or you know what I mean." Just ask questions and be very, very obvious in the narrative that there is a question mark here. And then as you head into the rest of the story, I mean, you can even say something. You can lead the reader a little bit by saying something like, "Well, he sure hoped he figured it out someday." And then as they head into the story, the reader's going to assume that they're going to get the answer as they read the main story. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely think that could work as long as you're just really do a good job of setting up the intrigue.
Okay.
So
something to think about. I'll have to use that. The necklace.
That sounds like fun. If you have a great idea for a story premise, but you don't know where you're going with it, if you're having a really hard time filling in plot events or finishing your current WIP, or if you're constantly worried that your story is boring or dragging or that your readers won't like it, then I encourage you to join the Legendary Fiction Forge, my monthly membership for fiction authors. Inside, I will give you the complete A to Z blueprint for how to write highly emotional stories that your readers will absolutely fall in love with, no matter what your genre or tropes are. Want to become a widely read, highly paid master storyteller? Then join us in the Legendary Fiction Forge and finally get that epic story that's been knocking around in your brain forever out to the world.
Okay, I guess the next thing is fiction. I know nonfiction books mostly have subtitles, but do fiction books sometimes have subtitles?
So this becomes what's called a metadata question, and it's different, a little bit different now because we're in the digital age than it used to be. So overall, I would say no, they usually don't. But on Amazon, there are places for subtitles, and what a lot of authors do is they use that space to put their genre, and they tend to keyword stuff. So if, for example, you had a murder mystery or something, that's where they would put a thrilling, shockingly twisted, pulse-pounding, dangerous thriller about detectives and, serial killers or something. You know what I mean? And so they're keyword stuffing so that when people look up books that are about those things, it will find their book. Now, I haven't kept up on this very well the last few years. I know that it's not really working the way that it used to. There was a time that worked really well to get visibility, but the algorithm is just too sophisticated now, and it's taking into account everything in your title, your description, so you don't really need that anymore. And I even think Amazon may penalize you for doing it. So in general, if you're thinking, do I need a subtitle? I would say no. It's just not necessary for fiction books, and I don't think it really helps you very much. If you want to put one on there, you can, but I would be careful. I might do some research. I bet Dave at Kindlepreneur has probably done an article on this, so just Google it and do some research, but it may even work against you to do that. So I would be really cautious about that.
Okay, I will then do some research about that. And you think I should maybe look at the Amazon fiction titles now, that before I move ahead and see what I see there? Do I see any fiction books with subtitles? Now, this is a Halloween book. What do you think about the word Halloween needing to be in the title or the subtitle? Shouldn't it?
So it just depends on what your genre is. You said it's ghost. It's a ghost in the house. So that would be paranormal.
Yes. Paranormal romance is what I would call it.
If your book is set on Halloween and Halloween is a part of the plot, then yeah, I think it's fine.
It is.
Halloween in the title. Keep in mind, if you decide you don't want to title it, like if it just doesn't work, you can't figure out a title with Halloween in there, you can put it in your blurb, in the description of the book.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And when you go to, have you published yet on Amazon, or is this your first book?
No, this is my first one.
Okay. When you go to publish, you go through and put everything on Amazon, like you put in your title, you put in your name as the author.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They have keywords on there, and you can put in keywords for your book, so you could put it there too.
Like paranormal romance or Halloween, both.
Right. It would be things like that. I mean, you want to get your genre in there, so paranormal romance, and if there's any other tropes, but you could put haunted house would be a big one. But yeah, Halloween, for sure.
Everybody in the city knows that it's reported to be haunted by a ghost in the attic, so definitely.
Yeah, okay. And like I said, there was a time, even just like 5 years ago, when it was hard to get visibility, so everybody was keyword stuffing everywhere.
Yeah.
The algorithm is so sophisticated now, it will pick up those keywords, and you don't need to stuff them anywhere. You know what I mean? You pick them up by putting them once, so you don't really need that anymore.
What about how many words are normally, if you know, in fiction for a novella versus a full entire book? I'm not sure that this is going to be a full entire book.
So a novella is, let's see if I can remember this. I want to say it's 30 to 50,000 words, or 20 to 50,000 words, somewhere. I know that usually the top max words is about 50,000, because like a quote unquote normal length for like a thriller or a romance novel is like 70 to 90,000 words. So it'd be a little shorter than that. It'd be like 50,000 words. Yeah. So, I mean, it varies by genre, but yeah, if it's under 50,000, I think it would be called a novella instead of a novel, for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm not really sure since I'm still writing it, but I guess we'll see. I'll continue and see how my word count goes. And now, is that one of the keywords that I will need to choose in when I put it on Amazon?
You mean novella?
Novella, yes.
No, in fact, it's better not to choose generic words.
Yeah.
They don't let you put like the word book in there, or Kindle, or free, or anything like that. So really the novella it's for you to describe it to readers, but it's not really, Amazon doesn't change the way it's promoted based on the length, really. So it's just for you to describe it to readers and say this is a novella about yada yada, so that they get an idea of its length.
Maybe in the blurb, or
you could put it in the blurb if you want. Again, you don't absolutely have to. You certainly can. It's not a bad thing to put it there. But there's also, when you put it on Amazon, there's like a page count, and of course it's going to depend on whether they're getting a print book or an ebook. But people who are really avid readers can look at that, and because they get books all the time, that'll actually give them an idea of its length. So it's not super necessary for you to give them an idea of its length, because it's already built into Amazon.
Okay, got it.
So yeah. All right.
Let me see. I can't think of anything else offhand that I'm sure I have other questions, but I guess I can't think of them.
All right. How much, do you mind if I ask, how much of this do you have written so far?
Maybe half.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Cool.
There's another book that I meant to write, that I was going to write first, and that I call my baby book. That's going to be my baby. I've been thinking about writing it for probably close to 20 years. Okay. But then I heard or read that a lot of times you don't want to do that for your first novel, because chances are you're still learning, you're still crafting and getting your rhythm in it, that it might be best not to write my baby book that I'm going to have so much invested in first. Yeah. What are your thoughts about that?
I actually think that's quite wise. I would never discourage anyone from writing.
If I really wanted to write it first.
Yeah, but I think it's a good thing to get some skills under your belt. You know, I mean,
do too.
The first book that you write, it's such a difficult mindset shift to actually write an entire book that it's going to be the hardest one you write.
Yes.
And then after that, it'll get easier. So yeah, I actually have one of those two that I started back when I was in college, and then I never finished it, and I've been thinking about it in the last 6 months or so. So
really?
I think we all have those.
You still haven't finished it, but maybe you're going to now?
Yeah. And I even did that with the series that I'm writing. Like I said, I'm writing a high fantasy series, and I didn't write it, you know, for a long time because I knew that I wanted it to be a certain way, and I knew my skills weren't quite up to par. So like I said, it shows, while I wouldn't ever discourage anyone from writing a book at any time, it does show a lot of, you know, wisdom and foresight on your part and like self-awareness. So yeah, I mean, go ahead and finish this book and see where you're at, and then only you can decide when the right time to write your, you know, magnum opus is.
Yes. Well, it will be, but just as a matter, I guess I'll hopefully know when I'm ready.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think you will. You'll feel ready. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too. Hopefully. I think we'll see.
Great.
Okay, let me see. Atticus for formatting, is that because I hear so many good things about it.
I definitely recommend Atticus. I have it and I use it. It's just very user-friendly, very author-friendly. So yeah, it's really good. If you want it to be just really easy and seamless and not have to fight with the tech, then I would definitely recommend Atticus. So
I got it. Okay. All right. I think we've gone over pretty much every question I can think of. I know it was a huge variety of questions.
That's okay. We got through them quick. So
okay. All right. Well, very good then.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the call with me, and good luck. It sounds like a really fun book, so I hope you can
Thank you.
get where you want to be.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later, Tammy.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening today. If this episode helped or inspired you in any way, would you do me a solid and leave me a review? Reviews help other fiction authors find the podcast. You could also recommend it to a writer friend of yours so they can get the same inspiration you got. Remember, you have a story inside you that only you can tell. So get out there and write your soul story, because your readers are waiting for it with bated breath.